Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. President John Kennedy. This quote by President Kennedy in his inaugural address inspired poet W.D. Earhart to volunteer as in the Marine Corps right after graduating from high school during the Vietnam War. There, he served for 3 years, including 13 months in the Vietnam War, and there his experiences shaped his anti-war poetry, including the poem Beautiful Wreckage. This poem, I believe, was made to criticize war in general, war as policy, and to also criticize a culture that glorifies war, especially in the United States, where young men and women become excited and motivated to fight in really unnecessary wars. So, right off the bat, just reading through the poem, I noticed that 4 out of the 6 stanzas began with the question, what if? What if I didn't shoot the old lady running away from our patrol, or the old man in the back of the head, or the boy in the marketplace? These are things that no one expects to do ever in their lives, and much less a young man. And we can assume that the character is a young man for 2 reasons. One, that was Earhart's state when he arrived in Vietnam. He was young, naive, idealistic, and he was excited to fight in this war for his country. And because, just statistically speaking, the highest percentage of casualties and volunteers were 19 to 22-year-olds during the Vietnam War. And then in this quote, we get this intense sense of remorse that no one expects to be doing these things. And he loses this romanticized image of fighting in the war as being something that's noble and heroic. And then in the second stanza, he asks, what if the boy, and then he pauses, he didn't have a grenade? He kind of goes into denial, and he doesn't want to believe that this has happened to him, that he has witnessed all these terrible things. And he continues to say for the next couple stanzas, the woman and Hugh didn't have to sleep with Marines just for food. Gaffney didn't shatter his knee. Ames didn't drown in the river. Skeet didn't die on the chopper. It just couldn't have happened. And he continues to lie to himself. And then he sees this huge contradiction where he calls Cantien a place of angels. And then he describes this place as something that is rotten and muddy and is filled with rats. And it kind of creates this really stark image to what we would imagine to be a place of angels. So, and then he imagines his friends and even his victims, the people that he has shot down, as the angels. Maybe they are the angels that are filling up Cantien despite all of the wreckage in this place. Maybe because they have been able to find peace and beauty further on after they left the wreckage that is the Vietnam War. And another contradiction is the title itself. The title of the poem is Beautiful Wreckage. That, I think, calls to just the fact that war is controversial. War is, in the United States, just what we see today. So many people are against the war, so many people are for it. And for what is what he's asking. The U.S. tends to romanticize the war as being something noble and heroic, where obviously we're all here to be able to do for our country if we're so called upon. But he criticizes this. Why romanticize this notion of war? Because war is never beautiful. Everyone suffers and everyone loses in war. So in the end, he continues to lie to himself when he asks, what if none of it happened the way I said? Would it all be a lie? Would the wreckage suddenly be beautiful? Would the dead rise up and walk? And he's again imagining this alternate reality where none of this happened to him, where he didn't witness all these atrocities. And he wants to lie, and he's wondering, well, would I get away with it? Can I lie for the sake of my friends' family members so that they don't have to suffer and that they can cope through this? And you can tell them, yeah, your son didn't suffer when he died. He didn't suffer. He didn't shatter his knee, he didn't drown in a river, he didn't die on the chopper on the way to get help. He just died peacefully. Or maybe he can lie to himself for his own sake so that he can cope with this. And then he asks, would the dead rise up and walk? But in reality, he knows that his own lies won't change anything. His own lies won't change what actually happened in Vietnam. And he knows that the 58,000 American soldiers and the hundreds of thousands of Vietnamese citizens and soldiers, they'll never rise up and walk again.